Biden has flipped that state into the Democratic column. There are 5 states where CBS News cannot project a winner because the votes are not all in. Those include Georgia, North Carolina, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Nevada. Now, those states have 73 electoral votes that still haven't been allocated to either President Trump or former Vice President Biden. CBS News, we should also note, believes Alaska will likely go to President Trump and Arizona will likely go to Joe Biden. So just to update you, at this hour, Joe Biden holds a slim lead in the race to 270 electoral votes to 237 to 213. I'm joined here by Ed O'Keefe and John Dickerson as we await the former vice president. And Ed, that win for them in Wisconsin, the Biden team gives them greater confidence, right?
It does, and it starts to restore the so-called blue wall that Democrats lost 4 years ago. But that kind of a state coming into their column, plus the edge they appear to have in places like Arizona, puts them closer to the 270 and puts them in a much more comfortable position this afternoon.
And we have at least 2 arenas in which we're having a debate here. One is the arena of the counting and the laws that regard that. The other is the public arena. Vice President Biden's remarks today will be in that. But every time a candidate wins something, it kind of codifies their position.
And now we see Joe Biden along with his running mate, Senator Kamala Harris.
Good afternoon, everyone. Kamala and I are here to make a brief statement, and I'm sure we'll have more to say later, and either tonight or tomorrow. But let me begin by thanking the press for being here and thanking everyone else. My fellow Americans, yesterday once again proved that democracy is the heartbeat of this nation, just as it has been the heartbeat of this nation for 2 centuries. And even in the face of a pandemic, more Americans voted this election than ever before in American history. Over 150 million people cast their votes. I think that's just extraordinary. And if we had any doubts, we shouldn't have any longer about a government of, by, and for the people. It's very much alive in America. Here, the people rule. Power can't be taken or asserted. It flows from the people, and it's their will that determines who will be the President of the United States, and their will alone. And now, after a long night of counting, it's clear that we're winning enough states to reach 270 electoral votes needed to win the presidency. I'm not here to declare that we've won, but I am here to report that when the count is finished, we believe we will be the winners. With all the votes counted, we have won Wisconsin by 20,000 votes, virtually the same margin that President Trump won that state 4 years ago. In Michigan, we lead by over 35,000 votes, and it's growing. A substantially bigger margin than President Trump won Michigan in 2016. Michigan will complete its vote soon, maybe as early as today. And I feel very good about Pennsylvania. Virtually all the remaining ballots to be counted were cast by mail. And we've been winning 78% of the votes by mail in Pennsylvania. We've flipped Arizona and the 2nd District of Nebraska. Of special significance to me is that we've won with the majority of the American people. And every indication is that that majority will grow. We have a popular vote lead of nearly 3 million votes, and every indication is that will grow as well. Indeed, Senator Harris and I are on track to win more votes than any ticket in the history of this country that ever won the presidency and vice presidency. Over 70 million votes. I'm very proud of our campaign. Only 3 presidential campaigns in the past have defeated an incumbent president. When it's finished, God willing, we'll be the 4th. This is a major achievement. This is a major achievement. And it's been a long and difficult campaign. But it's been a more difficult time for our country, a hard time. We've had hard campaigns before. We've faced hard times before. So once this election is finalized and behind us, it'll be time for us to do what we've always done as Americans, to put the harsh rhetoric of the campaign behind us, to lower the temperature, to see each other again, to listen to one another, to hear each other again, and respect and care for one another, to unite, to heal, to come together as a nation. I know this won't be easy. I'm not naive. Neither of us are. I know how deep and hard the opposing views are in our country on so many things. But I also know this as well. To make progress, we have to stop treating our opponents as enemies. We are not enemies. What brings us together as Americans is so much stronger than anything that can tear us apart. So let me be clear. We are campaigning as a Democrat, but I will govern as an American president. The presidency itself is not a partisan institution. It's the one office in this nation that represents everyone. And it demands a duty of care for all Americans. And that is precisely what I will do. I will work as hard for those who didn't vote for me as I will for those who did vote for me. Now, every vote must be counted. No one's going to take our democracy away from us. Not now, not ever. America's come too far. America's fought too many battles. America's endured too much to ever let that happen. We, the people, will not be silenced. We, the people, will not be bullied. We, the people, will not surrender. My friends, I'm confident we'll emerge victorious. But this will not be my victory alone or our victory alone. It'll be a victory for the American people, for our democracy, for America. And there will be no blue states and red states when we win, just the United States of America. God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you.
And we've just heard from former Vice President Joe Biden saying he's confident that they will emerge victorious, saying, I'm not here to declare that we won, but I am here to report that when the count is finished, we will be the winner. It sounds a little bit like he was sort of skating that line in terms of saying they're confident, and he ticked through the different states and the vote margins there.
He did. He was trying to basically say, this is the case I'm building, and this is where things will go if you count the votes. And that's the major thing that distinguishes him from the president last night, who wanted to stop the votes and, in fact, is acting in states like Michigan to stop the vote. What struck me, though, was when we were talking about these different arenas in which this battle is taking place. This is the public arena, and this was a preview of presidency future. In other words, unity, coming together. I will be president of everyone. If there's going to be a big public fight about this, part of the pressure on other politicians will be to kind of, if the country puts pressure on those other politicians, they may put pressure on the president to stop the fight. And just stop the fighting.
CBS News has not projected a winner at this time because there are millions of ballots still to be counted. We should go to Major Garrett because everyone wants to know what will it take in order to declare a winner, and take it away.
What will it take? What are the scenarios? I want to show you the map as it currently exists and then also indicate to you what the trend lines are based on the vote that is known and the vote that is outstanding. So let's start very simply. Alaska, that is leaning toward President Trump, so let's do that. Maine's 2nd Congressional District, also trending toward the president, so let's put that there. Nevada, based on the outstanding vote, is trending toward Joe Biden. Same thing for Arizona, trending to Joe Biden. That puts it at 254 to 217. Again, these are scenarios. If you can see, Michigan has 16 electoral votes. Georgia has 16 electoral votes. If Joe Biden, the former vice president, were to win Michigan, You can see that goes to 270. Put it back out. Georgia, 16. Put that there. 270. Both of those would secure the presidency for Joe Biden, even without Pennsylvania or North Carolina. But for the sake of argument, let's give Georgia to the president. Let's also give Michigan to the president, even though you just heard the former vice president say they feel very confident about Michigan. That still leaves the president short at 249 with Michigan, with Georgia. Then that means Pennsylvania and North Carolina. But even if you add North Carolina, that's still 264. It's not quite there. Pennsylvania then becomes the most important thing. So of those states that are outstanding, you can see in these scenarios, the president has much more to accomplish to get to 270 than Joe Biden does.
I think bottom line, what we're trying to say, since now Wisconsin is, since Joe Biden is the presumptive winner in Wisconsin, we should know, of course, there that the Republicans are filing a recount there, that all Joe Biden would need is to hold on to Nevada and win the state of Michigan, add Michigan, right? Turn Michigan blue.
Right.
And then it's 270.
It's 270, Michigan or Georgia, exactly.
All right. Major Garrett, thank you so much. Want to bring in David Becker because he is our CBS News election law expert. And David, we heard President Trump's former chief of staff, Reince Priebus, say this morning on CBS News that we're entering the recount mode of this election phase. Explain what happens if the Trump campaign and what will happen with this recount in Wisconsin. Could this slow this whole thing down?
Well, if we'll recall back in 2016, the margins were very small as well, and in fact, in some cases, even more narrow than what we're seeing now. And the Clinton campaign decided not to recount because the fact is, it is almost unheard of in American history for a statewide race to change if the margin of victory is greater than 1,000 votes. And these are all going to be significantly more than 1,000 votes. Of course, Florida 2000 was very different with about 500 votes. So what they can do in the states of Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania is they can request a recount. They'll have to pay for the entire recount. That'll cost millions. And the likely outcome, overwhelmingly likely outcome, is that it will confirm the results of these validly cast ballots being counted through this transparent and observable process.
All right, look at Wisconsin there now, and you can see that the difference in the vote is more than 20,000. The former Republican governor of that state saying the Republicans face a high hurdle in getting enough votes out of a recount to change essentially what would be the outcome of that race. In the state of Michigan, which we have not called at this hour, it is tight. Biden leading by more than 35,000 votes. We are hearing that we could know by 6 p.m. tonight from the Secretary of State a final vote count and projection from there. So we will have that for you here at CBS News as soon as we can get it. Want to bring in Anthony Salvanto, who is our CBS Election Data Center. Anthony?
Nora, let me show you that difference in Michigan. We're looking at the model there. As you noted, extremely close between the candidates. Joe Biden with that narrow lead and about 300,000 votes in our estimate still outstanding. And I want to show you Pennsylvania as well. Here, President Trump has a lead, 52-46, but I want to show you just how many, in our estimates, 1.1 million outstanding votes, many of them from Philadelphia and environs. Many of them are mail ballots. And we did see last night a very large trend, mail ballots for Joe Biden, whereas the election day turnout very strong for the president. So a lot of votes still left to count, and I would add, everyone, for context, it is not unusual for us to be sitting here at a decision desk days and days after an election waiting for elections officials to count and tally votes.
It's a good point, and I think John had a quick question for you.
And sometimes the rest of the country doesn't recognize it because the electoral victory is so big. They just want to know who won and lost, and they don't care about the adjudication of a particular state. And I was just going to say about Philadelphia County is just that's not only are mail-in ballots going Biden's way, but that's also a very, very, very Democratic county.
Indeed, John. Indeed.
So much to watch as more of that vote count comes in. Again, a critical time. Michigan, we are expecting numbers tonight around 6 o'clock. In Georgia, a race that is also incredibly tight, where Trump has a lead of about 83,000 votes. We're expecting results in from Fulton County. That is a Democratic-leaning county. That could come after 9 o'clock tonight. So stay tuned for CBS News for all of that. And so the 2020 presidential election remains undecided at this hour, with 4 states still rated as toss-ups at this hour. Our coverage will continue on our 24-hour streaming network, CBSN. There will be more on your local news on the CBS station, and we will have a full wrap-up tonight on the CBS Evening News. This has been a CBS News special report. I'm Norah O'Donnell, CBS News Election Headquarters, New York.
Call 87